welcome back to the vlog. Doug's going to be playing in the 1-3 game over at Capital Casino. When he came home, he wasn't in a very good mood. He didn't want to talk about it. So we're going to be watching this vlog. Be interested to see what happened.
Well, this was April 16th, the day after tax day. So I feel like I'm already stuck already. But we're going to see if we can grind it back in the 1-3 no limit game. Well, the first hand we played, there was a limper and a player raises to 10. I got pocket fives. I kind of like to play this multi-way, so I'm not going to try to isolate them. I'm just going to put in a call. And we do get a bunch of callers, so we go 6 ways to a flop. That comes out 9-9-3 with 2 diamonds. It's an average flop for our hand. It does get checked around to us. I think we have a hand that you kind of want to find out where you're at. So I bid out for $30. Now imagine I'll get raised by someone with a 9, maybe get called by someone with a flush draw. I do get raised to $80. I insta-muck it. Well, our hole just got a little bit deeper, but that's okay. We pick up a real hand with ace queen of hearts. There's a $15 open from a solid regular, a call from another regular on the button. I just chose to call here. I don't want to bloat the pot out of position against 2 good players. Flop comes queen, 5-3, all spades. Not very good. We do have top pair. Can't give up yet. We check it over. It gets checked to the player on the button who bets out for $20. I call, and so does the original raiser. So we're going to see a turn card with 106 in the pot. And we get the bad news of a 8 of spades on the turn. We're basically done with the hand at this point. Too many ways we can be beat. I check it. It gets checked around. River card comes is an 8 of clubs. Pairs the 8s. Who knows? Maybe if they get checked through, I might have the best hand. But the player on the button bets $105. Yeah, there's just too many hands in his range that have us beat. He could have easily slow played a flush once he got there. So I give it up, and so does the other player. And we lose another one. An hour and a half into our session, we finally pick up a powerful hand of ace, king, offsuit. There's an open for 15, call for 15. Another player calls for 15. We squeeze to 80, and everybody folds. So we win our first pot of the day, $48. That is much better than losing. So I'm happy to get the ice broken. It only took an hour and a half. Oh, about 20 minutes later, I pick up ace, king again. This time I'm under the gun, open for a raise to $15. I get a call from a player in late position. Also a player in the big blind puts in the call. So we have a 3-way pot with $46 in, and I got a pretty good hand to start with. Flop comes out, queen, jack, 10 with 2 hearts. So we flop the nut straight. First player checks. I'm going to bet small here like I would with my entire range, $15, and they both snap fold. Probably the tightest player at the table, maybe in the room at this time, opens for a raise to 15 in middle position. I've seen him raise with aces, and I've seen him raise with kings. I've seen him flat with ace, king, and I've seen him flat with pocket 10s. So when it's folded to me in the big blind and I got queens, I'm really hesitant, but can't let it go. So I'm going to make the call and see a flop, which comes 7-6-3 with 2 diamonds. I check it over to him. He continues for $20. I wish I had a diamond for one of my queens, but I don't. I'm just going to put in the crying call, see what he does on the turn. Well, the turn is the 3 of clubs. That's a good card for an overpair. It pairs the bottom card on the board, so you don't have to worry about the 2 pair combinations. I check it to him again, and now he bets pot of $70. Okay, I don't really like my hand that much. I think it's a 50-50 shot. He either has aces or kings or jacks and 10s. With the pot odds as it is, I'm going to make another crying call and see what happens on the river, which comes the 5 of hearts. So it puts up a one-liner to a straight. Hopefully this will slow him down if he has aces or kings. And he does check it back. I show my hand, and it's good. So he must have had jacks there, I think. Well, maybe my luck has changed. I am back in the green. I'm up $200, and this is the very next hand. I have ace 10 offsuit. A lot of players limped in. Sometimes I would just put in a big raise here, but I decided just to see a flop with it. Board comes ace 9 7 with two hearts. I do have the 10 of hearts and of course top pair. I check it, and it gets checked around to the player in the low jack, who bets for $15. Kind of a small bet. I'm thinking he might have a weak ace at this point. Player on the button calls, so do I, and we see a turn card of an 8 of clubs. It does give me an open-ender at this time, but it also puts up another little card. My opponent could have easily limped in with ace 8, ace 7, maybe even ace 6. I think he would raise with ace king or ace queen. So the only cards I'm really worried about is him having two pair and maybe having ace jack. But for $40 with an open ender, I don't think I could go anywhere. When the other player folds out, I go ahead and decide to make the call. I figure I got a lot of outs to the straight. I might even be good at this point. It's hard to tell because he has been playing kind of recklessly. River card comes as a 9 of clubs, so now if he had ace 8 or ace 7, he's counterfeited. Of course, if he had the ace of clubs with another club, he's well ahead. And he decides to bet $110, kind of a larger size bet than normal. So I'm really thinking that he might have made a backdoor flush. It's very possible. I'm trying to calculate my odds right now. It'll cost me $110 to call to win a $360 pot. So I need about 30% equity. And, well, I'm not sure whether I'm getting the right price. It's pretty close. And when it's this close against a player who gives a lot of action, I think I'm just going to have to put the chips in and hope for the best. Not in love with it, but I make the call. And he turns over ace jack. So he had me all the way. Kind of surprised that he had ace jack, actually. Well, a few hands later, I pick up ace queen in the hijack. There were two limpers, and I raised to $25. Player directly behind me puts in a quick call, and so does the small blind. Player behind me has a stack of about 200. The small blind has a little over $100 in their stack. So when the flop comes out 9-5-3 with two clubs, I really don't think either one of them should have a hand like that. I think maybe they have some sort of flush draw, a couple overcards. Don't think anyone has a 9. So when it's checked to me, I bet for $30. Player behind me calls rather quickly, kind of indicates that he might have a draw. Turn card comes is a 9 of spades. This makes it less likely he had a 9. So I think his most likely hand is a flush draw, and I want to put a lot of pressure on that. He has 150 left in his stack. I could probably beat all his flush draws because if he had a pair and a flush draw, he has 3 9s, right? So I jam all in, expecting to get some folds from flush draws. He kind of makes the call, a little bit of a crying call, and shows pocket jacks when I say I have ace high. Well, after punting off that $200 to a player, I'm feeling not so happy right now. But you know what makes you happier is when you pick up a big hand right after punting off $200. And in this case, I have a pair of kings. I had one player limp in front of me. I raised to 15. I get called by the same player who beat me last hand with jacks. And the original limper puts in the call. So we go 3 ways to a flop that comes out 10-10-7 with 2 hearts. So not the greatest flop in the world. Someone with a 10 has me in pretty bad shape. First player checks. I bet 20. Player behind me calls the 20, and so does the original limper. Turn card comes as 3 diamonds. It brings up another flush draw. There's a lot of possible draws here. Straight draws, flush draws. When the first player checks, I'm going to bet again. If I get raised or anything, I'm just going to give up on this. Player on my left goes into the tank. And while he was thinking about what he was going to do, the player to my right decides to fold, which is like really bad etiquette. The dealer pushes his cards back to him saying, don't do that. And so now the player on my left goes, I'm going to raise. So he raises to $200. Naturally, I know I'm toast here. It would have been nice to get a free card after I already paid $60 for it. I show him my kings, I muck it. He does show that he had ace 10. Well, today's not my day so far, and we're rolling up on 3 hours, and I decided I wasn't going to add to my stack because I'm just going to be leaving in a short period of time, and I'm not playing great, and I'm not running great. But then I pick up pocket aces. Well, I wish I had a deeper stack now. I open for $15 after a player limps in. It's folded around and around and around, and finally everyone folds, and I win $6. What a day. Well, obviously I've been playing the wrong hands all this time. I decided to play 9-7 suited, and I limp in with a bunch of other limpers. In fact, there was 8 of us seeing this flop. So there's going to be $24 in the center. My goal is to double up and go home, or get felted and go home. Either way, there's going to be me going home at some point here in the very near future. After the dealer makes change for everyone, we get to see a flop which comes out a little bit above average. It comes king 10-8 with 2 hearts. So I flop an open-ender and a 4 flush. And I have a short stack. So I'm going to try to build it the best I can. I make it $15. First 2 players fold. Next player puts in a quick call. The following player thinks for a little bit, puts in a call. And then the player on the button decides that he's going to min raise it. What does this mean? Well, he either has like a 10 with a flush draw, or he has like 2 pair. Of course, if he has a 10 with a flush draw, I'm going to be toast. So my idea here was, when it comes to me, I'm going to put in a really, really small 3-bet and then have enough chips just to make a pot-sized jam on the turn. And if he has something other than 2 pair, he might fold. If he has just that pair in the flush draw, he's probably going to end up calling me. But I still have my straight outs, right? So I put in this little teeny raise, which I think is a very, very stupid thing to do. I think it's much better to try to get the overcalls from the other players. I don't know what I was thinking. I was getting tired. I wasn't playing well. My opponent on the button eventually makes the call, so we're going to go see a turn card with $164 in, and we get the 4 of hearts. So we make the flush. I have about 140 left in front of me, a little less than a pot-sized bet. It's going in. So I jam all in. He takes a peek at his cards, kind of flicking them from hand to hand, and then he shows the table that he has 10-8 of clubs. So he flopped the bottom 2 pair, and he's trying to figure out whether he's getting the correct price. So he asks for a count. We give him a count. He asks for the count of what's in the center of the table. The dealer says, well, I can't count that for you, but if you like, I can spread it out so you can see it better. So that's what he does. He ends up spreading out the main pot so he has a better idea of how many chips are in it. It became painfully obvious that it was not my bluff, if I had to make a bluff, was not going to work, because the biggest scare card hits the deck and he's still considering putting his chips in. And in fact, that's exactly what he does. He does make the call even though the flush card comes in. So the obvious draw comes in. I've shown a lot of strength. So he was never folding. I tell him I have a flush. He says it's good, of course, because I can see his cards. Well, I find myself on the button with pocket queens. There was a bunch of limpers in front of me. The dealer actually was tossing my card to me, the second card, and it hit the button and flipped over. So he gave me a replacement card. And so I end up with 2 queens. I would have had queen 10 offsuit otherwise. So I raised to $20 and I get called by everybody. So we're going to go 5 ways to this flop. That comes 4-4 deuce rainbow. Really good flop for my hand. It gets checked around to me, and I decided to check this one back just because I think if I bet, I'm only going to get action from someone who has a better hand. And the guy on my left in the small blind, he has a tendency to bluff when he sees weakness. And so I'm hoping that he will fire away. And that's exactly what happens. He ends up betting $60 on the turn when ace-6 of spades comes in. Of course, there's a possibility that he has a 4. There's a possibility he has a hand like 5-3, but I don't think he has anything at this point. He also has some obvious tells, and he is given the sign that he is weak. The other player at the end of the table puts in the call. Now, he could possibly have a 4, but I think he would probably raise at this point because the pot's big enough. And I thought about just putting in a big raise now, but I decided just to let the small blind continue bluffing if he is, because if he misses whatever he has on the river, I think he's going to put in a very big bet, and then I can get all my chips in. So after the player to my right folds out, it's time to go ahead and make the call. As I said, I was thinking about just putting all the chips in at this point, which wouldn't be a bad thing, but I figure he's bluffing, let him continue to bluff. River card comes as a jack of clubs. My opponent in the small blind, I figured he would bet a larger size, maybe something like 180 to 200, somewhere in that range. But instead, he decides on betting a smaller amount of $85. And this had me really puzzled because I expected him to go big. And when he comes out with just $85, it looked like he has a value hand. So I don't know whether I misread him before or whether he backed into something. Player at the other end of the table tanks for a while, and looks like he's going to make some sort of crying call. So I'm not really concerned with him. It's the player in the small blind I'm concerned with. And right now, I'm just staring down the player in the small blind, trying to get a read off of him. And my read is that he's not bluffing anymore. So the question is, does he have, say, a hand like ace-jack of spades and turned a flush draw, made top pair, and I can beat his ace-jack? Or maybe he had pocket jacks all along and he finally made a full house. I should raise and go all in, but I don't. I just put in the call. And he turns over queen jack offsuit for a pair of jacks on the river. And of course, my queens are good, but I really hate my play. I should have been jamming there all day long and twice on Sunday. Well, it was a very frustrating round, and I happened to get lucky with the pocket queens and, of course, the 9-7 of hearts to put 2 hands back to back and get out of the negative and back into the green. Ended up winning $265 on the day, which is a miracle for considering how poorly I played. Well, I promise to play better next week. So until then, good luck at the tables, and we'll see you back here soon.
Well, now I understand why you didn't want to talk about that round. You played like garbage. I mean, what were you thinking with that ace-queen shoving right there? That's something you should just check and see what he does. And then on the flush draw, yeah, of course you flopped a monster, but you have a short stack. Just let everyone in. That way you can double through more people when you have a made hand. You made some really bad mistakes there, Doug. We got some work to do.